Come on in, sir. Come on in.
Okay, 8 o'clock, we reconvene our meeting.
Okay. As a result of our executive session to discuss personnel issues, I want to read the following statement. East Cocalico Township is announcing today that Scott Russell will be stepping down as Township Manager effective August 30th, 2019. Mr. Russell offered his resignation to the Board of Supervisors on June the 6th and gave 12 weeks' notice to allow for a smooth transition to a new manager. His primary reason for leaving was family-related and a desire to have more time in the evenings with his family for family activities. Under Mr. Russell's leadership, the township changed police pension providers to improve performance, reduce costs, and enhance service. He was instrumental and took the lead in developing and implementing a local economic revitalization tax abatement or ALERTA program that will help foster business development and job creation for the township for years to come. He helped develop a 4-year budgeting forecasting, a new tool to better predict long-term budget trends to allow for sound policy development and better financial management. He also started a program that is redirecting township general funds to paving local housing development streets, to get caught up on the deferred maintenance and ensure future generations are not left with distressed roadways that are expensive to repair. Mr. Russell was also instrumental in modernizing the township facilities and in incorporating technology to reduce costs. Finally, Mr. Russell helped with the creation of the Stony Point Park Community Build Association and has assisted that nonprofit group in developing a plan for building a new community-built playground for Stony Point Park. The township is currently developing a transition plan with Mr. Russell. The program plan includes installing an interim manager who will fill the vacancy starting on September the 1st, while the township looks for a new township manager. I will say that we did offer this internally, and we didn't have any good results, so we're going out on the outside now. For the this Board of Supervisors, and I'm going to speak for myself, I've been with Scott for 10, 12, 14 years. When Clyde Culp was here as his township supervisor. Scott was our land planning engineer at that time. So for this Board of Supervisors, it was a true honor and a privilege to have worked with Mr. Russell. His management, his leadership, guidance, and professional skill set was instrumental and a critical developing component in laying the foundation for the many improvements within East Cocalico Township. His selfless commitment to East Cocalico Township was a constant while performing his duties for the community. He will be greatly missed by this board and staff, and we wish him all the best in his next endeavors. These aren't fun to read. I can't say I was caught off guard. There's a lot of pressure right now. And, you know, Scott's here a lot of meetings in the evenings, on weekends. I don't think most of you people realize what's involved with being a township manager. You don't leave this building and then forget about it. It's like being the chief of police. They're on call 24/7. He has a family, and he's been torn away from that family for many, many years, and he just decided that, hey, while they're still young, they're still around, I want to participate in their growth. And I regret losing, but I understand where he's coming from. And I appreciate it, Scott. I really do. I appreciate all your service. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the manager to advertise as necessary, interview, recruit, and hire an interim township manager to serve as the acting manager until a permanent full-time manager can be hired. That is my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to accept with regrets the resignation of H. Scott Russell as the township manager effective August 29th, 2019. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the township manager and township labor solicitor to develop a hiring plan, advertise for a new township manager position opening so that, excuse me, this is tough to read with everything going on. Let me start over. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the township manager and the township labor solicitor to develop a hiring plan and advertise for a new township manager. The manager position opening shall be open-ended to allow for the selection of the best possible manager. The Board of Supervisors shall have the authority to accept or reject any application received until they are satisfied that the best applicant has been selected to serve as the next township manager.
I'll second that motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We move on to new business. Pending personnel changes.
So Chair, the second item that we talked about in executive session was a labor agreement for Chris Flory that he has requested for the roadmaster position that he is serving, similar to what the chief of police has. As an appointed position, he is an at-will employee, and he did make that request for a number of different reasons. And so that is the agreement you have before you. He has found it acceptable and requesting the board to take action and execute the agreement.
I'll make that motion to execute an employment agreement with Christopher Flores for his duty as township roadmaster.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, review the forecast for 2019 additional real estate tax.
Chair, you have a memorandum that I presented to the board, and I'll read it in its entirety just because it's pretty self-explanatory. The township, due to two large realty transfer tax payments received, are over budget for revenue in 2019 in the amount of $659,032.13. I am recommending that its excess funds be transferred back to capital reserve to help replenish depleted funds. I'm also recommending that the money be placed into a restricted account by motion and designated for future paving in the township residential developments. As was clearly demonstrated last fall during the budget hearing process, additional monies are required for the next 5 years in excess of money received from the state via liquid fuel funding to maintain these roadways and to avoid significantly more expensive reconstruction in future years. Basically, if work is deferred, the roads will deteriorate to the point that it goes from maintenance to require much more expensive reconstruction. It was stated that these monies would come from capital reserve at the time and would exceed $500,000. I'm recommending the following motions for tonight's meeting. The first motion is to rescind the budgeted transfer of $118,240 from capital reserve into the general fund as called for in the 2019 budget. And you want me to read all three motions, or do you want to do
I'd like to do one at a time.
So that's the first motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Second motion is to transfer $500,000 from the general fund, utilizing excess funds of realty transfer tax to be placed on a restricted account dedicated to exclusively to roadway paving to address documented future residential roadway maintenance needs and to ensure roadway maintenance is properly funded for the next 5 years.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
The third motion is to acknowledge the previous two motions will result in a positive adjustment of revenue for 2019 budget in the amount of an additional $40,792.13.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Growing Greener Grant.
Mr. Chair, we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about MS4. There was a meeting with DEP. At the meeting, we discussed the Growing Greener Grant that the township was recently awarded. We now have a green light basically to submit for reimbursement. Due to the fact that there's not a meeting till July 18th, I'm requesting the board to actually take action on this even though it is new business. And basically, I will read the motion, because the motion is self-explanatory. The motion is to authorize the manager to execute the proposed land study to design and permit the East Cocalico Park Stream Restoration Project for a fee of $45,000 to be paid for from Growing Greener grant funds. This project is required by the Department of Environmental Protection to be completed to meet the current MS4 permit requirements to reduce sediment pollution. So as the motion states, this is a budget item. All the money is coming from grant monies to pay for the design fees. We do have a local match of 15%, and that's going to be administrative fees, and it's also budgeted, so it's going to be Ken's time, my time, and also some background engineering time to administer the contract and to serve oversight of land studies. That's how we're meeting our match right now. But the $45,000 design and permitting fee for land study is being paid for by the grant.
We need a motion to that effect.
That was a motion I read, yeah.
I'll read it. I'll do the motion.
I'll second it. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Third one, item on new business is the healthcare broker services with BSI. I just wanted to have a discussion about that, and obviously with the pending announcement that is departing, it has made a change in the plans as to what the township was going to do. Originally, when we brought BSI on board, one of the tasks that they were going to start this summer was with the VA healthcare working group to start exploring self-insurance with Benetton. And my advice to you has been with my departure that that would probably not be a good thing for us to currently engage the township in. However, we still do need broker services to administer our renewals for November. So that's my recommendation, that we still continue BSI. But I also wanted to publicly just make everybody aware that we're not going to do the step right now of going down the road for self-insurance. That will be a project for next year.
And they'll do the brokering service between us and the
They will do the brokering, plus the additional thing that they offer that we didn't get from Kilmer is they will actually do advocacy, so it will reduce some of the stress that occurs with Liz,
Okay.
where the employees can start using PSI when they have medical questions or concerns of service that they're getting from the capital.
Okay.
So
So,
it's just for broker services now, it doesn't change underwriting, it doesn't
No.
change anything like that.
Okay.
No, there's no other.
And there's no,
and then they will help out in general too about, as they talked about, being a little more timely in the budget process, so that we can get proper notification that's required on our union contract with the police.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Manager's report.
Mr. Chair, I really didn't have too much time the last 2 weeks for the manager's report, and because I've been focused on developing a transition plan for my departure. But there are a couple things, and one thing in particular that just came to light the other day that I would like the board to consider taking action on. I did provide you a copy from McCarthy Engineering. It's an item that they submitted for 2 items that will require board to forward on for review. The first one is, and I'll read the motion. The motion is to acknowledge receipt of a zoning text amendment request and to forward on to the Planning Commission and the Lancaster County Planning Commission. Again, this is what we had discussed at the previous 2 meetings. We have the request that's come in. I'm requesting the board to take action on that. There's no review steps or anything tonight. And then on Monday, we'll send it to the 2 parties for the start of the review process.
Okay. What motion would be?
Just a motion to acknowledge receipt of the text amendment request from Sturdyville and to forward the request onto the Planning Commission and Lancaster County Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you, Scott.
The next motion is to acknowledge Sturdyville's request of vacating right-of-way along Stonehill Road and to forward that request on to the solicitor for review and comment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I'll pass that on to the board or to Sturdyville.
Okay, good.
The only other thing is, coming out of executive session, it was my recommendation that the July 18th meeting, given what was announced today and some need to have staff attend meetings, our next public meeting, that we would change our July 18th meeting from an evening meeting to a morning meeting at 8 a.m. And I anticipate it will be a long meeting. So if the board's okay with that, then maybe we could have a motion to acknowledge that, and then I will advertise that.
I'll make the motion to acknowledge that the July 18th meeting will be at 8 a.m. meeting.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
And we'll work with Tom Gibbons to get that advertised. That concludes that. The only thing I will bring up two Heatherwood items related to roadway dedication. As you were aware, Mr. Chair, you did sign the initial addendums that had gone back to Blackstone to address their minor issues with that agreement, so now we're waiting at this point for a check to be cut. The second issue, and the only issue now that will stop or slow down roadway dedication, is given that the developer went and declared bankruptcy, the right-of-way is still owned by that previous developer. So the deeds of dedication need to be signed by him. Burks is working to try and track him down. He is not at all responsive because he is trying to get away and hide from creditors. So we're in the process of that. Once we have those deeds of dedication that have already been repaired, we can dedicate the roadways. We do not have to wait till the repairs are done. So the intention is, once the deeds of dedication have a signature, and then they will be forward the board to dedicate the roadways. The other item that was discussed with Burke's Homes is obviously there's some road breakup occurring from the entrance all the way down to the roundabout. The township is going to assist Burke's Homes with the patching. We are going to provide this labor support to do the patching. They are going to pay for the materials. They, in turn, then are also going to put a geotextile down and a final leveling and wearing course down when the project is done. I do feel that that is an appropriate compromise with them because the paving section out there is deficient. And that was in the days when the township did not do proof rolls and other items. And what we have occurring now is areas where the subgrade does not appear to have been properly prepared. And the goal is not to have Burke's Homes go and pour the roadways and contest. So they are willing to thus provide labor, they're supplying all the materials, and then they're ultimately doing the paving, the geotextile at the end too. So I feel that's a pretty fair compromise, and I did talk to Chris, and we've gone out there and marked it, and Chris feels confident it's more than we've done in the past, but that we could, in between all the major rainstorms right now, take on that work. But those repairs are not forgotten, and are actually getting, over the last month or so, they've actually, a number of new areas have opened up. The one plus side is, after we do all this patching and geotextile, we've found all the bad spots in the road from that phase, with all the truck traffic now that has gone over it. So it's, in many ways, it's a good thing, because those will have been problem areas that will have popped up in the next 10 years or so. But that's kind of a compromise. So if you go out there, you'll see paint markings on the road, and there is a plan in August for us to pave it, and Burks has agreed to pay for it.
Okay.
That's it for my manager.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Chris, could you hang around just for a minute? I have a question for you after the meeting, and I'd like to talk to Scott also. Thank you.
Okay.
Here's a question.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just about the you're talking about getting Dana Glass to sign over on the properties. Is there any, and you'll know this better than me, and I'm sorry I'm asking this, but is there any laws in the books if he's basically abandoned this property, he's gone bankrupt, he's abandoned this property, is there any way to fast track that process, whether, try to get him to sign on, when he doesn't obviously care? Is there any other laws in the books that, you know, obviously if you leave a property and somebody squats on it for 15 years or whatever it is, I didn't know if there's any kind of
21.
There is a process, but it's not going to be quick. We're not going to get the roadways dedicated this year.
Okay.
So I do want to give Burke's Homes a little bit of an opportunity. If they are successful, then we petition the ordinance court, and that's the process you go to get things like abandoned right-of-way turned over. Typically, that's a 1 to 2 year process to go through the courts. So our goal is really to try not to go through the courts if at all possible.
Absolutely, yeah, that was my, yeah, that answers that question.
Yeah, the abandonment process is extensive.
Right, but there is a process to get abandoned right-of-way.
Okay, so
So-
we're trying to do another way, other than that, try to get him to just sign on it.
If Burke's Homes will fly to meet wherever this individual is now calling home, it was at one point Florida, to find out where he's located to get the sign. If not, then I have talked to Tom Goodman about that at some point in July, starting the working court process. But our goal is not to go down that road because then it just delays things again longer. Once we have it, we're ready to go. Everything else is done. All the legal documents are prepared. We're just getting the signature at this point. Anything that you need. Dedicate roads.
All right, thank you.
He's very elusive to a couple creditors. So we found that out with a couple people that take it to the court. They are actively trying to engage him.
We talked to him probably 9 years ago, I think I talked to him. Yeah,
And then for that plan thing, if you want to stay around for a few minutes, I have a plan to show you.
Sure.
If you want to hang around for a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Any other public comments, not agenda items?
I have one, it might have been under the fire and EMS. I actually have 3 questions for you guys, and I apologize if that's where it should have went. But Chad Weaver, Stevens Fire Company, in case anything you know. We've been fighting some rumors over our station about mergers, consolidations, money, all that stuff. So I was asked to come to you guys and ask you guys, because we're being told the township is going to be enforcing some of this stuff down the road. And we were curious, between all you guys and maybe Jeff would weigh in too on this, because I'll probably have to deal with it starting at the turn of the year. Is there something going on to force us to merge in the next coming year or two that we're not aware of? Number one. Number two, we're being told that monies might be cut off. And number 3, there was rumors that you guys are going to force the relief to split. So we are curious if there's any truth to that rumors, and we can kibosh that stuff on our end.
There's been an awful lot of rumors around here for the last couple of years.
Right, and that's why we're coming to you guys, and again, that's why Jen's here, so we can kibosh that internally at our station when our guys come to that, and we can say, hey, plus now with these videos, they can say, look at it.
I personally would not force you to merge, and I will not cut off your funds either.
And I kind of figured that, but you can tell I'm
It's
figuring
in
blue
the
in the face.
budget, this
Right.
time, yeah, I mean, it's there. We've already set it aside.
Now I've kind of done my thing that they asked me to do, and
No, that's fine.
presented it,
The only thing that occurred is like we talked about, the fire companies all agreed to do the study.
Yeah.
Which is a crawl stage of the process that down the road could lead to a merger or regionalization of some sort.
and that could be where things are getting twisted. I mean,
But there, other than that request, and again, all parties plus the board have to agree to implement the scope of work
Right.
that comes out. And like I said, the East Hemphill study did not mention the word merger once in its study. But, you know, that would probably be the only little caveat.
Right, and
But again,
that's-
that's voluntary participation. If anyone in the fire company said they don't want to participate in the study, more power to them.
Yeah, and from my side, I hope the look at confusion on my face kind of answered that question.
Well, right, and I kind of know that because I sit here every time he's had meetings, but, you know, the guys that don't, they get talking to whoever, and
We hear it, so we just want to get it from you. So
Right.
It's out there, so it's taken care of. We kind of already knew that, but it's better that now we can say we pointed the question, we asked it, and it's been answered.
That's a fair question.
And it's on the video too.
right, and that's what we'll say, if they have any problems, we'll go check out the video.
Right.
Jeff, you want to weigh in anything?
I echo the board's thoughts.
You know, I, just on a somewhat similar thing, I remember years and years ago when I was on the water authority, we were gonna merge with Effort, and you know, it's turf, you hate to give up your piece of the pie. We created, and I say Effort, it was the Effort Area Joint Sewer Authority. And Akron Borough had to do it, Effort Township, East Cocalico, Denver Borough, because we all contribute our affluent to the Effort treatment plant. And that was a hard sell, but you know, it's the best thing that ever happened. It really is. And it's a selling point. You gotta get everybody on that same page, and as Scott said, the word merger
It's
puts a
tough.
fear of God in a lot of people. It's gotta be a cooperative effort. You call it another word, but it's the same thing. But when you say merger, it's like, oh, well, what am I gonna lose? Am I gonna like the way they're gonna run it? Who's gonna run it? Da-da-da-da-da. So, yeah, it will work, but, yeah, we're here to support, we really are.
Yes, we are here to support.
Thank you.
Is that your question?
Yep.
I guess I'd like to follow up a little bit with that, but has the township heard anything to that extent as far as a rumor? In any
I don't
way,
listen to
way,
rumors.
shape, or form?
I don't, there's so many out there that you just don't pay, you gotta figure out who's blowing the smoke and then you just ignore them, you know.
Chance, the way I would answer that is simply, again, as I said earlier, you guys are the subject matter experts. The way I look at this is, for me, you know me, I deal with data, I deal with facts. The data is simply, I have not had 3 individual fire chiefs come to me and ask me specifically, they want to see a merger and they want to see it over this period of time. None of them have done that. And, you know, they're the ones who know best. They're doing it all day long.
We appreciate your service. Okay. There's a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
All right?
We're adjourned, thank you very much. Oh, I want to make an announcement, the July 4th meeting is canceled because it's a holiday. So our next meeting will be the 18th.
8 in the morning.
Yeah.